Brought to you in part by Frenchman Hills Winery, a distinctive taste for all occasions.
Complement the best evening with the best wine. Red wine selections from Frenchman Hills Winery. Estate-grown grapes exclusively from Sentinel Gap Vineyards are expertly handcrafted into Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, and a red wine blend, yielding a truly superb and elegant wine. Look for Frenchman Hills Wine in upscale restaurants and other destinations. Frenchman Hills Wine, a distinctive taste for all occasions.
Welcome to Q Up Spokane. Now let me ask you, what does George Clooney and Spokane have in common? And girls, it's the tango. But you're not going to get to dance with him, but you could ride in the car that George Clooney has, and he's making a statement. And the statement is electrical vehicles and helping sustain our planet is really coming in vogue, and it's something to think about and dance towards. Rick Woodbury, you are the proud developer of the Tango, which is a vehicle. Bill Moore of EV World. You've been spending years looking at what we need for the future.
Absolutely.
Electric vehicles, right?
Last 10 years, yes.
So, would you go ahead and ask some of the more technical questions about this beautiful vehicle?
Well, the beautiful vehicle. Of course, the first thing that people notice about the Tango is that it's narrow and it's small, and they often ask, well, why? And Rick, you're very passionate about this. Most everybody else goes for a wide car. You chose to go the narrow route. Why'd you want to go the narrow route?
Well, it all started, I was in an LA traffic jam about 20-some years ago, and I noticed that everybody around me was one person in the car. And I started thinking about the massive amount of real estate that was being wasted. It actually turns out to be about 2,400 square feet per person for every single occupant car going down the freeway. That's a pretty good sized house, and that's just the waste. You know, so I thought, how many people, how many doctors, attorneys, people that are worth a lot of money, how much money is being wasted due to this traffic congestion, where people are just basically stuck, unable to do anything but listen to the radio. And now, of course, they use their cell phones, which isn't really a great idea. But, you know, at the time I was thinking, this is just a total waste. And these traffic jams are just horrendous, and they have been for, you know, well over 50 years as far as I can remember. So I thought, you know, what we need is a narrow car. You know, if we had narrow cars, all these single occupant drivers would be in half a lane. We could double the lane capacity and so forth. My next thought was that if you made a car narrow, it would probably tip over. And I thought, well, if you ballasted it like a sailboat, you know, it could be heavy on the bottom, and you know, it really would be difficult to do that with gasoline engine. But I was very much, ever since 1975, been very much into hydrogen energy, and I knew that the hydride, which could store hydrogen, is quite heavy. So I thought, well, the future will bring us cars with hydrogen tanks, and you know, I was thinking internal combustion engine. I didn't know about fuel cells at the time, but I thought, you know, narrow cars, that's the future. And about, I don't know, it must have been 1981 or so, I actually had the privilege of meeting the president and chief engineer at Porsche. And I asked them what they were doing about hydrogen. I said, this is the future, you know? And they said, yeah, we agree. It's too big a project for us. They said Daimler Chrysler's doing it, or Daimler Benz at the time was doing it, but that it was a 20-year project, not a 5-year project, and they couldn't do anything more than a 5-year. So, you know, this kind of festered in my mind, and my son, who was, when I first thought of the idea, was probably about 2-3 years old, but by the time he's in the 5th grade, he's doodling little narrow cars and hydrogen cars and all this stuff. And eventually, we love to do projects. So, you know, the first project is we're building a little kayak, you know, that all 3 of us could get into at the same time. And then, you know, that got boring, so we built a sailboat. And we have built a 23-foot, a little 23-foot schooner. And so that got boring. Now we wanted an ocean-going one, so we get this big, you know, 35-foot ocean-going junk rig schooner. Right. And at some point, my wife just said, you know, that's it. It's me or the boat. Take your choice. I'm out of here. You know. So we sold the boat, and coincidentally, at the same time, I had been, you know, of course, thinking about this narrow car all along and wondering why nobody's doing anything about it. And I thought, here might be the opportunity. One of my friends, who is a father of, my kids were into rock climbing, and one of the other rock climbers' dad worked for the power company and told me about this fuel cell project. And I thought, fuel cells, very interesting. So that's even better than an internal combustion engine. And so this started looking really exciting. So I went over and met with them, and I told them all about Billings and all of the hydrogen work that had been done for vehicles. And I thought it looked pretty likely that I could get a free fuel cell and all of this if I developed a car. And I thought, well, I'll just make a battery car, and we'll prove the concept that it works, and then we'll put a fuel cell in it, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. This is kind of how it developed.
Right.
And when I started investigating electric cars to get the battery car going, I found out that, well, batteries do a pretty good job. You know, this is a commuter car we're trying to build here, not a car for going long distance with lots of people. We're trying to make a car half as wide to carry, you know, single occupants around.
Let's show them. Let's step back a little and let's let them be in the driver's seat here. Kind
Why
of
don't you just
explain
slide
where
in there,
everything
Rick,
goes.
and,
Yes.
And we'll show. This is actually, the car's actually 2 seats. It has the front seat, of course, for the driver, and you couldn't put a passenger in the back. And I believe, Rick, you were telling us earlier that you've actually had an NBL basketball
Yeah, one of the
player
NBA
back
players, one of the Clippers, was sitting
Yeah.
at the LA Auto Show, and I didn't know who he was, but I heard the comment that he had made something, or one of the people that was with him, he was being photographed at the time, and they said, oh, you can carry your own NBA player around in the back seat. And then I heard somebody repeat that off of the news the next day at the show, and I thought, oh, so that really was.
Right.
But anyway, this is the, what turned out is that, you know, to see if a narrow car would work, there were a couple things we had to work with. One was, is there enough room internally in the car for a person to be comfortable? And 2, is there enough room to fit 2 cars in 1 lane on a freeway with enough space? So let me speak of it from both directions. From the external dimension, a freeway lane is 12 feet wide. So if you cut it in half and you have a 6-foot lane, if you want to have the same clearance that a truck has in a 6-foot lane, the car would have to be under 40 inches wide. So we tried to make it 36 inches wide, but it crept up to 39 inches. And at 39 inches, it's still 5 inches narrower than a Goldwing motorcycle. So anyway, it easily fits in half a lane, so you can comfortably drive at 70 miles an hour without even thinking about it in half a lane, without even, you know, just a piece of cake.
Plenty of room.
Now, from the inside out, the distance in a Subaru from the inside, from the center of the steering wheel to the outside door panel is 36 inches. So there's plenty of room as far as the car is concerned, as long as you just put the right-hand door the same distance as the left-hand door is. So in this case, the car actually got a little bit wider on the inside also. We have actually ½ an inch more space on the inside from the door panel to the center of the steering wheel than a Subaru Outback, and we have only ½ an inch less than, say, a Dodge Ram pickup.
Now that's
So
hard
our
to
doors are
imagine, but
thicker.
look, you're looking pretty
I have
roomy in there.
lots of room in
actually.
here. I mean, I have to reach out here by elbow
And it's
to get to the
looking like a
window.
regular vehicle in
Yeah.
there. And how about air
Look, I'm not a-
conditioning, radio?
It's got all of
heat?
that.
It's,
It's got-
it's not going to run the battery down.
No, it's a tremendous air
We have to be
conditioning power.
comfortable.
It's just
and
like
we
a
have to have our
full-size car.
tunes.
We got it all. We've got a 400-watt stereo in it, very powerful with JL Audio subwoofers, 400-watt amp, and we're using Alpine double DIN with sat nav and the whole bit now. So
yeah, I've heard those.
you know, we go with the best.
Now, I
the
know-
air conditioning is just like for a big car, and you're only cooling down a small car, so it's very powerful.
I know you have one that we can really look inside. I, for one, would be very concerned about the safety of being in a smaller vehicle, you know, with some of the big ones out there.
We knew you
Can
would.
we move to the insides of that? Because you really proved the point about safety, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure, that would be fine.
You know, Rick, I, for one, would really be a little concerned about the size and the safety features. But I got to tell you, you really did convince me. So convince the people of Spokane here